Hello and welcome to a episode of Sports and Songs podcast. I'm your host Dan. Joining us today is Craig from Philly. Craig, how are you today?
Excellent.
So today we're going to do a bonus episode on the new format of the college football playoffs. 12 teams. We're going to get some insight here from Craig. It's never been done before. There was the four-team playoff, they called it in the past, that they've had that run as a test or an example. I don't know if that was 5, 6 years, 8 years they did that. Now we're on to the 12 team, and we need Craig to help break it down a little bit for us because there's a lot of things happening with this. It's a single elimination tournament, Craig, single elimination with the first round games at the home sites. So it's going to be, I think it'll be fun. These big schools getting one more home game for the tailgating, selling tickets to have one more home game late in the fall or the winter time, essentially. And what's your thoughts on that? First of all, having those first four games at home college campus sites.
I love it. I don't like the neutral site games even during the regular season. I
Okay.
I think this is awesome. Like the Penn State fans get to show up for their game, stuff like that. So
So what they did was, here's the bracket that I took a screenshot from here off the internet. It shows the bracket just like any other bracket for sports. Single elimination, you win, you move on. There's no home field advantage after that first round games. They're all neutral sites. Now, starting with the second round and the third round, which is the quarterfinals and the semifinals, they're going to be actual bowl games, neutral sites, and they're going to be considered bowl games. So teams that win will get a chance to play back-to-back bowl games. What's your thoughts on that? Being able to say, hey, tell the grandkids one day I played in two back-to-back bowl games in one single season. How weird is that?
I think it should be a 8 play. Well,
Sorry, what is that? Say it again.
I think it should be an 18 playoff.
I see.
I think it's much, but
All right, so 8 is what you're saying. This is 12.
yeah, it should be 8. But they got. Oh, I think they're playing. I think one team, Indiana, if they want to have to win all 4 games. If I'm reading this right.
So it's a 4. Yeah, so it's a 4 game for these teams in the first round have a potential to play up to 4 more games. Now, these teams have already played what, 13 games? 12 or 13, right?
Yeah,
So that's a long stretch for the college football athlete. They're still students first and foremost. They're students, and they've got classes and whatnot. Now they're playing football for 17 weeks, 13 plus 4 more potentially at the most. That's the length of an NFL full regular season schedule. That's 17 games, and the NFL. Those are professional athletes who don't do anything else. Is that too much to ask for these, or with their conditioning and training, they can make it 17 games?
that's too much.
Okay. Now, so my next question,
We
and
can.
I know you'll have an answer on this, Craig, is now we're going to have a higher risk of injuries, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And so there's nothing going on this coming weekend. There's the Army Navy game. The following weekend, this stuff kicks off. And so if you one of the first 4 teams, you essentially get a bye. So you do have time to rest, get healthy if you got some injuries or guys with nagging injuries. But after that, it's straight up top level, top flight football where there could be injuries, there could be guys getting hurt. Uh, by the time the finals come, but down on January 20th, I think, uh, neither team will be at full strength. Who's ever even in the finals? Do you think?
Exactly.
Okay.
And
Okay.
now after the championship game, then they go like 2 weeks, and they're probably back at spring practice. So
Well, yes, this goes all the way to January 20th, and the spring practices is right around the corner already. So this gets to be long. But the playoff gods out there for college wanted this. They wanted this for so long. And everyone was crying and screaming, there's no playoffs. What do we do to get a playoff? That's what this sport needs. So they said, okay, we'll go with 4. We'll go with 4 teams. And all we saw the last how many years, Craig, was the teams that were 5th or 6th or 7th was crying in their drink because they didn't make it. We didn't hear much about the 4 teams that made it, but all the people pissed that they didn't make it. So what do we get? We're going to go to 12. And I think the thinking was we're going to eliminate all the crybabies, go to 12. Everyone gets in. And what I predicted, and I think you did too, was now are you going to have the teams that are 13th, 14th, and 15th crying because they should have gotten in and now they're left on the outside looking in. So you can never win that, right?
Well, here's the issue. You got Arizona State, which is probably ranked 16th. I think Clemson, somewhere around there. They're both in the college playoffs because they won their conferences. And then a team like Alabama, which is ranked 13th, is left out. So you got those scenarios. You got Ole Miss left out. And you got teams that are ranked less in the college playoff.
So we're looking at the bracket here now with the football bracket. The teams in the brackets behind the team number is the way they finish the rankings. The actual college football final rankings for the year in the nation. That's where you're ranked. Then they said, what we're going to do is seed. We'll go 1 through 12 and seed for these players. So this is where the confusion gets in. Now, you and I follow this. Other sports fans follow this. It makes sense. But if you're not following this and you're new to this, don't you think that this will get a little overwhelming for the average fan looking at all these matchups and these numbers?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So what they did, for those not familiar, it's not the top 12 best teams in the nation, which many still think that's the case. You have the final rankings, it's the top 12, and move them into the tournament and have them play. They don't have that. You have to win. For the Power 5 conferences, you win that conference championship game, regardless of your record, you are in this tournament. And so that's what happened with teams like Clemson, for instance, that won on an upset. They're now in the tournament, which means now other teams cannot make it. So here's what I did. Let's see.
Well, they got to do it that way because in order for the conference championship game to mean anything, they have to take the winner and put them in the playoffs.
Yeah, so what it does is to make it meaningful or to make it fair for everyone, they have to say, if you win the conference championship, regardless of your record, you get an automatic berth into this. I think that's fair, right? That's fair to say you get in, you win that game, most important game, you're in. So like Clemson did, they won, so they're in. So yes, other teams will get upset, but the teams that are upset are the teams that lost the championship game. So they're placing the emphasis on the championship game. We can't help you if you lose the title game. You get beat, you're not going to be having a first round bye, for instance. So those Power 5 teams, the first 4 of the highest ranking teams that won their conference, get an automatic bye. Doesn't mean they play at home the following week and get a home game like the NFL does, but it's a neutral site, but you get a bye. Now, the other teams, they put them as at-large picks and whatnot to fill out the rest based on the rankings. And so here's what we get. And just wanted to see for this first round, here's our games, Craig. Here's the first round. And I have in parentheses at the top there, if you can see that, in parentheses, it says these are not bowl games. So we got to keep that in mind. The first games are, for instance, Clemson and Texas. I'd like your thoughts on that. Clemson is seeded 12th, which is the worst, against Texas, which is 5th. And then in parentheses behind there, I've got where they finished the year on the AP or the coaches ranking. Clemson 16 versus Texas. So really this is a Texas ranked 3rd versus Clemson ranked 16th. So I wouldn't think by looking at this would be that good of a matchup. I wouldn't probably even tune in to watch this game, a 16 versus a 3. What's your thoughts?
You know what? I don't think Texas is as good as their ranking. And I think they're playing great football right now. So I would, on paper, you would say, Texas is going to stomp them, but I don't see it that way. I think it's going to be a close game.
Okay, that's good. So this could be a good one to tune into. I don't have the dates, the times, or the networks here listed. I just wanted to focus on the matchups. The next one is SMU, 11th seed, ranked 10th nationally, against Penn State, ranked number 4 nationally, but the seeding here is 6. So you got a 4-ranked team against a 10th ranked team. What's your thoughts on this one?
I believe Penn State will win. They'll grind it out. SMU's offense is really good, and Penn State's gonna have trouble stopping their vertical game. It's gonna come down to sacks by Penn State and controlling the ball.
And once again, a reminder, this is at home. You've been to Penn State. That's a big, loud environment there for SMU and the SMU fans to take this in. This should be a good game.
It should be, but yeah, I could go either way. It should be a good game, or Penn State's going to rout them. It's going to be one of the two. So I'm leaning on a good game. I think SMU will put enough points up on the board, and Penn State's going to have to grind it out.
Now, the next two are games that I would consider closer matchups, very evenly matched. Indiana out of the Big Ten, ranked 8th nationally against Notre Dame, ranked 5th nationally. This is in Notre Dame. Indiana doesn't get many games there. It's going to be fun for the fans there to head to Notre Dame to get an actual game on campus. What do you think about this one?
This is the most intriguing one for me. I want to see if Indiana's real, because I think Notre Dame's real. I think Notre Dame is one of the favorites to make it to the finals for me.
Okay.
Oh, I'm interested to see the Indiana bubble. You know, are they really for real, or did they just have a great season? You know?
Yeah, that's what's going to be fun about this entire tournament, I think, because Indiana rattled off a bunch of wins at the start of the season, was undefeated. They had an easier schedule, but they were good. So now it's when push comes to shove. We'll see how this all shakes out. The final one is Tennessee, ranked 7th in the nation, against Ohio State, ranked 6th in the nation. The seedings for the tournament is Tennessee 9, Ohio State 8. This should be the closest matchup if you're looking at true rankings. What's your thoughts? But it's in Ohio State. It's in Columbus. This is going to be wild stuff.
You know, the weather could be a factor, of course. I don't know. This is the hardest one for me to predict, because Ohio State totally laid an egg against Michigan. Now, how do they respond? Do they take it out on Tennessee, or does Tennessee, with their high-powered offense, go through Ohio State? This is too tough for me. I wouldn't go to Vegas on this one at all. So
now these games are a couple weeks out. We should also talk about the portal. You know, the portal for these players. The regular season is over. This is the postseason now. Are those players that want to switch, can they enter the portal, or can they leave the team now in between this time? And so will these be the actual rosters of the true football team, or is it going to be backups in some of these games? How's that going to work?
Exactly. Or I think you can do the transfer portal opens December 9th, if I remembered right.
Okay.
I'm sure these kids can enter the transfer portal after the season's done.
Okay.
That's just when it opens.
I see.
So if you're these kids in the college playoffs, they'll probably hold out till afterwards, or if they lose, then they'll declare.
Okay. I see. Gotcha. So that may come into the mix. Then the following week is the quarterfinals, also single elimination. These are in neutral sites, and they're actually giving them bowl games. And so these are actually going to be bowl games. Clemson, Texas winner will play Arizona State, ranked 12th in the nation, in the Peach Bowl. Now, the way the seeding is, because Arizona State won the Big 12, they're the 4th seed. And so this could be good, but once again, we'll see how good Arizona really is, Arizona State. The Sun Devils, what are your thoughts?
Arizona State's my team in this, my favorite. So yeah, they'll lose, but I'm rooting for Arizona State.
Yeah, I can see that. That'd be a fun team to root for here with those guys. The next one is SMU Penn State winner will go play Boise State, who's ranked 9th in the Fiesta Bowl. So let's say Penn State wins. Penn State's the 4th ranked team in the nation. They're following quarterfinal game, a semifinal game, is against Boise State, who's actually ranked 9th. So it's going to be odd. The second round, you could have some favored teams. It's going to be very interesting with the Vegas odds on these guys. SMU, to go in there and play Boise State, that'd be a good game. But Penn State, the 4th ranked team in the nation, going up against Boise State in the quarterfinals. What's your thoughts there? It's once again neutral site, but we'll get to see what these teams are made of.
I think Penn State will be too big for Boise State. So Boise State should probably hope for SMU, but that ain't gonna. Either way, I think Boise State will lose.
Okay.
So.
And the next one is the Sugar Bowl. So now it's the Indiana Notre Dame winner will take on Georgia Bulldogs in the Sugar Bowl. Georgia ranked number 2 in the entire nation. Whoever wins that is going to have their work cut out for them against the Bulldogs.
Yeah, but I still think Notre Dame's going to go through Indiana. I don't think they're going to have a problem with Indiana.
Okay.
They're going to cause a bunch of problems for Georgia. So, like I said, I think Notre Dame's the most scariest team in this field. I don't like Notre Dame, but they're after that Northern Illinois loss, they have just stomped everybody. So, I like Notre Dame against beating Georgia.
Okay, that'll be good. And then we get Tennessee, Ohio State winner taking on the Oregon Ducks, ranked number 1 in the nation, the only undefeated team. That'll be in Pasadena at the actual Rose Bowl. Oregon, familiar with that back in the Pac-12 days, played there. They're familiar with that. And that should be who you think is going to go there.
Once again, the hardest game for me to predict, Tennessee, Ohio State. Oregon will beat Ohio State, and they'll be able to beat Tennessee, either team. So, I like Oregon. I like Oregon in this one, no matter who they play.
Gotcha. So then after that's done, you're down to the final 4 teams. Now, the locations are set, and the name of the bowl is set, and so the quarterfinal teams that win will face off against each other in the semifinals. So they've got that designated as the Orange Bowl is going to host one of them in Florida. Cotton Bowl will host the second semifinal. And then what they do, championship winner of both those go to the championship, which is in Atlanta. And I've got in brackets there, Craig, no bowl game. It's just considered the college football championship game, which has always been the case when they went to the 4-team bracket. 4-team playoff. It's just called the national championship game. And here's, once again, the logo. It's the college football playoff. So no bowl game, but it's going to be down in Mercedes-Benz Bowl where the Falcons play in the NFL. So that'll be the championship. That will not go until January 20th. So now you get all these extra rounds in there. It's going to push things out. The transfer portal could have an impact. Playing all these games could have injuries involved. Whereas this championship game, a part of me, Craig, tells me that the teams could be decimated. Some of their skill players, their top players could be decimated and not even in this game, and it won't be that fun to watch. Now, we both know that the Division I athletes at whatever school is going to be in this, regardless of the depth on the team, they're going to be studs. They're still going to be studs. Even if they're second, third string, they're going to be good athletes. But it may be different after all these games.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. We could have a third string quarterback trying to win a national championship. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see when you're watching the game, see how many players are out of the game. So, yeah.
It'll be interesting. What I do like is any tournament with single elimination. Of course, I love the fact because there's no consolation bracket. So the teams that are done now, they did the final brackets to come up with the final rankings, top 25 teams, and like we touched on earlier, the teams that didn't make the top 12 college football playoff, they're still in the regular bowl games. So other remaining bowl games have been announced. here's the top, and some of these. So what I'm getting is some of these bowl games could be very good games, if not better than some of the playoff games. Here's the first one: 13 Miami goes up against Iowa State in an actual bowl game. It's not the playoffs, but wouldn't this be a game to mark on the calendar to watch?
Definitely. I'm surprised. I think Miami only had one loss this year, maybe two. But yeah, they didn't make the playoffs, so they're very talented, Miami.
They're hungry. They missed it. They're on the outside looking in. They're going to be upset. They're going to be taking Iowa State potentially to the woodshed in that game. Once again, I don't have the dates or times or the bowl games here listed, but these are bowl games. 17 BYU against Deion Sanders, Colorado Buffaloes, ranked 23rd. You're going to tune into this one.
Yeah, I like watching Colorado. I think Shadir Sanders is the best quarterback in college football. I don't want to say it, but I think he is. He makes all the throws. He's pretty good. I like Shadir. I think Colorado will beat. I don't know. This is a tough one too, but I want BYU to win, but I just don't know. This one's a tough one.
And then South Carolina, the Gamecocks ranked 15th in the final rankings against Illinois, another Big Ten team. They're making it. The Fighting Illini ranked 20th. And this is the last of the teams that are ranked teams that will be playing each other. Ranked teams playing each other in a bowl game.
So who's playing Illinois again?
So it's South Carolina Gamecocks.
South Carolina's going to beat them.
Beat them up. Okay.
Now,
the remaining 7 games of teams that are in the top 25 that did not make the playoffs are all playing teams that are not ranked. So we get number 11 Alabama against Michigan. What's your thoughts on this one?
Alabama against Michigan?
Yes.
Oh, Alabama. Michigan ain't. No, it's going to be total domination by Alabama.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I think we'll see some of these on these 7 games here listed at the screen on the bottom here. You get a tough ranked team going up against a non-ranked team. Yes, it's a bowl game. Yes, it's fun, but they may not be as quality of games here. Ole Miss, number 14 against Duke. Thoughts on this one?
Duke could cause problems for Ole Miss. Yeah, I'm going to go with the upset in this one. I think Duke's going to beat Ole Miss.
Next one is number 19, Missouri against Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa's not ranked. They beat up on the Gophers, playing Mizzou here. Mizzou against Iowa.
Iowa was scoring points this year, weren't they? Holy!
Yes.
I like Iowa in this one. I don't. For some reason, I'm going with Iowa.
Tough schedule. Big Ten. Big Ten is 18 teams this year, so that was also new with all this and all the changes. The other one is, how about this? Number 21, Syracuse versus Washington State.
I love Washington State. They got that run shoot offense, but I think Syracuse with McCoy, the quarterback, Syracuse is a very good team. So they should be ranked higher, in my opinion. But I'm going to go with Syracuse.
Yeah, they finished at ranked 21st nationally. Now, interesting game next is Marshall, unranked, going up against Army. Army ranked 22. They're going to be playing this Saturday, so they're not going to have that extra week off. They're playing Navy in the Army-Navy game Saturday. Now they got to come back and play Marshall in a bowl game down the road here, end of the month.
Marshall's a very good team in a small conference, but I like Army here. They're too powerful.
And then we're down to number 24, UNLV versus Cal.
Oh,
Cal's not ranked. UNLV's 24th in the nation.
Yeah, I like UNLV here. I do. I watched some UNLV games, and they're a good team. They're very good. So,
and the final, Memphis ranked 25th. They finished the year 25th ranked in the nation, going on against West Virginia, unranked. What are your thoughts on that one?
West Virginia.
So regardless, we've got some good matchups, and once again, there's the bowl games and the college football playoff, or the CFP, and so this is going to get all the attention. The CFP with this the big final 12 teams in it for the big boys. But these other games should be good. The rest of the bowl games should be good. And so what they did this year was they announced the rankings, the final rankings. They locked those in. They announced the football playoffs, and then they filled in all the rest of the remaining bowl games. And so everything's out there now. The bowl schedule's been released. The Minnesota Gophers finished the season 7-5. They're going to be playing the Duke's Mayo game against Virginia Tech, 6-6. What's your thoughts there? Neither team ranked. Good game here.
I haven't paid attention.
Even. Is it going to be evenly matched? Brosmer?
Definitely evenly matched game. Virginia Tech's got a really good quarterback, but then again, I haven't seen at this point who's doing in the transfer portal, all that stuff. So who's playing in these games at all? So if Virginia Tech has its quarterback, I forgot his name. Gee. But Virginia Tech's a good football team. They lost some close games, and Minnesota's got to bring their A game to beat Virginia Tech, I think.
Now, from a fan perspective, this will be a fun one because most of these other bowl games and even a bunch of the playoffs will be done by this time. The Duke's Mayo Bowl, Craig, is January 3rd on a Friday night, and there's no other bowl game. The Gophers game is the spotlight on that night. So they're going to have a Friday night game to themselves on national television. That'll be pretty fun.
Yeah, I think the Gophers need to win this one. I mean, they're like 51st in the country in recruiting. They need this Virginia Tech game. They need to beat Virginia Tech.
So now my question is, PJ Fleck is 5-0, right, in bowl games.
Yeah.
Do you have him going 6-0 then? Or 5-1?
Damn, why you gotta put me on the spot like this?
Well, that's what I'm trying to think. If they win, that's great. They should. It'll be close. But if the Gophers win, that puts Fleck at 6-0 in the bowl game. That's a monster number for win-loss record.
I'm gonna say the Gophers win. I think Virginia Tech will probably have more players out than the Gophers. So I'm gonna say Gophers 23-17.
Okay.
I do like the Gophers in this game. I'm just saying Virginia Tech's a strong team, and yeah, I think Taylor will be the difference for the Gophers.
So once again, the transfer portal could have an impact. This game is January 3rd. By then, people could have declared they enter the portal. Who knows who's all going to be there? We even had a head coaching job change already with Bill Belichick going to UNC. Actually, just today, right?
No, are you serious? I haven't heard. I haven't been keeping up.
Well, Bill Belichick was in the running for the UNC job because I think Mac Brown was there. So did Mac Brown retire or did they let him go? He's up there in age.
They fired him.
So they need a spot. Belichick's in, and he's going to go from NFL down to D1 along with his 24-year-old girlfriend.
Get out of here.
His girlfriend is 24. I looked it up today. The girl that he's dating is 24 years old. So the memes were running wild on the internet today with Belichick involved in a lot of memes, especially the Rodney Dangerfield back to school memes when he went back to college in that movie with Rodney Dangerfield. A lot of those memes flying around.
I can't believe that. I heard something about that, but I ignored it. I'm like, why would Belichick go to North Carolina? He's a pro coach. Why would he want? How is he going to recruit? How is he going to deal with the NIL? How is he going to deal with any of this stuff?
See, that's what I think is interesting. It's a completely different animal.
Oh,
he hasn't been coaching. Has he ever coached college? Or if so, was it way back?
I don't think he ever did. I just think
this is all new territory for the old guy. But it'll be interesting. The limelight will come off of Deion Sanders a little bit next year in the football season for college. The the spotlight was firmly on Colorado for the last couple of years because Dion's there. Now some of the press will be focused on Belichick there at Chapel Hill.
I thought, wow, this is shocking. I never thought I'd see Belichick coaching college. I'm sorry, I'm kind of blown away by this. So.
It's wild stuff. So, Craig, is there anything else with the updates here? Do you want to cover on college football playoffs? Anything with pro? Any NFL? Any news? Have you seen the Brett Favre video?
You know what? I do not blame Mark Gastineau one bit. I do not blame him one bit. So, he went after Favre and said, "You laid down." It was so true. When Gastineau played, the salaries weren't that great. They were obviously good, but he could have made so much more money in his life by having a sack record.
Yes, and Favre, Brett Favre addressed it in his response. He made a tweet, several tweet response addressing all the things he talked about. And he said, yes, you could have made big bucks at these card shows, memorabilia rates would have been way up. His autograph would have been worth more. And he had the record. And then Reggie White had it taken away because Favre essentially fell down in that game. And Gastineau held it. He said, it was 20 years it's been bugging me. And they two met at a card show and went to shake hands, and Gastineau didn't shake his hand. It was super awkward. Now, was that a setup? Or was that an actual authentic encounter that was filmed?
I'm pretty sure it was Gastineau saying, follow me or whatever kind of deal. I'm going to confront Brett Favre. There might have been some setup, but I think the way he went about it, he was truthfully honest. It wasn't like he was doing it for the cameras.
And he didn't say, hey, I'm just kidding. Hey, I'm joking with you. Joke's on you. You've been punked. It was a most horrible, awkward situation where Brett Favre didn't know what to do or even how to respond, thinking, am I on candid camera? What's going on here? Now, there is a documentary, I think, in the works, and I think that's going to be part of maybe a scene included in the documentary. But Gastineau was upset.
Like I said, I don't blame him necessarily. 20 years later, but I don't blame him. Favre laid down. It was clear as day for straight. So I don't blame him. He had it, and I just found that very interesting. I loved it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was a high level confrontation in a public auditorium, wherever it was, at a card show, not surrounded by a lot of people. The two were off to the side. Get a chance to watch it. For the listeners that haven't heard of it, do a search up. You'll see it. It's Favre and Mark Gastineau, the great New York Jets number 99, came up and reached out to shake hands. Says no, and he says, I'm serious. I'm not kidding. I didn't like what you did. You impacted my life. It was super awkward, but it's true. So Favre kind of says, I didn't know that was kind of an impact. And I think that's what some of the response on internet was, that when you made that decision to sit down or lay down, you got to think of the blowback down the road. Like now, 20 years later, they still have hard feelings, still upset.
In Favre's response, which was pretty classy, but he was just like, well, the game was in hand and I was just going to roll out, and there he was. It's like, why are you rolling out if the game's in hand? You're not a running quarterback. You would just hand the ball off. Why would you even try to do a bootleg? You're not Michael Vick. So what? It was all. I'm sure in the huddle he told the offensive lineman, "Don't block him."
And it could have been the case. So all these thoughts and thinking that went on 20 years ago when this all happened that people had now all resurfaced by saying, well, now maybe it was. What's the deal? So he got called out, target on his back. Wild stuff, I think.
Well, even announcers during the game go, yeah, he gave that one to him. So it has been a secret. Everyone knew it. Even at the moment, the announcers were like, yeah, Strahan got to give me.
Strahan. Yeah, what did I say? Reggie White. Michael Strahan. So That was it. That was a wild scene. But if you get a chance for the viewers, listeners out there, search that. Just watch it. It's very interesting. The cameraman was right there. It wasn't like a hidden camera. They were following and they watched it. Brett didn't know what was going on. I don't think.
I think they probably said something to Brett like Gastineau wants to meet you, and Brett
Probably.
there to shake his hand, like, and also he got bombarded, and Favre's like, I was just told he wanted to meet me, you know. I think that's probably what happened, and Favre was like, and then when Gastineau goes, I'm gonna get my sack back, and Favre goes, you'll hurt me.
Yeah, he did. He said that. So what did he mean by that? He wanted it right now?
Yeah, he meant Gastineau was gonna sack him right then and there. He goes, we're gonna hurt me.
Jeez, this is wild stuff, man. Oh, man.
Yeah. Favre did not see that one coming. I think he was just told that Gastineau wanted to talk to him, and Gastineau brought the cameras because they're doing that New York Jets sack exchange documentary.
Okay. Well, we're not going to hear the end of that. That's going to be front center on when that documentary comes out, and for conversation, for water cooler conversations at work. Let's talk about that one for years to come. Boy, that was interesting. Well, all right, Craig. Anything else in college football? I know we got the Army-Navy game coming up, and the playoffs all begin after that, and it should be fun. A couple of weeks here coming up through January 20th. It all wraps up.
Yeah.
Now, Craig, here's what they said when it's all done, because this is the first year of doing it. They said that they will sit down, the administrators, and say, hey, what worked, what didn't, what can we tweak, what can we make better for next year? So there are a lot of people who don't like this format. They don't like the way it went down. And so they're kind of saying, we'll tweak it if we need to some of these examples, because there's always some oddball thing that's going to happen. There's an exception to the rule. So what do you do in those situations? So
I mentioned earlier, you can't, like, the ACC has their championship game, the Big 12 has their championship game, and maybe both conferences ain't very good. So they got to have these conference games the championship games mean something, because no one would pay attention. You know, if Clemson and SMU played and Clemson wins and they end up going to the Military Bowl, then people won't be interested in the championship game. It won't have the effect.
So the one connection, one thing that Andy sent before the show to ask is Notre Dame isn't in a conference. And so that's going to have an impact going down the road for every year, right? They're always going to be this problem child.
Andy makes a great point. That I didn't even think of that. I totally forgot Notre Dame's not in the conference. Well, it'd have to be total strength of schedule then. I mean, Notre Dame, they beat up on Air Force and Central Michigan.
But they'll never get a first round bye, essentially, because those are awarded to the Power 5 championship team. So there'll always be a 6 or through 12 seed, essentially. They'll never be top 5 because they're not in a conference. So are they going to somehow, with the money changing hands here with these conferences, say, look, you have to get in a conference? Or is the conference, with all the moving and shaking going on with all these changes anyway, maybe the conferences go by the wayside? Who knows? But they're causing the wrinkle in this whole thing.
So, yeah, the NCAA is going to basically force Notre Dame to join a conference. I don't think they want them being independent, but because they're in business for themselves. So yeah.
But they have the big TV contract for TV because they're Notre Dame. And so every week they're on TV because of their deal. So now if they're in a conference, that's going to push. It's going to have a domino effect.
Well, I'm sure Notre Dame's looking at, like, we got a TV deal. We're a separate identity. We don't need a conference. We're self-employed, you know? So they might pull some, like they did with the ACC, play 5 games schedule with the ACC again, or the Big 10, and then play whatever games, schedule whatever games after that. They might do that again. But
now the other, so that's interesting. Now, because they're always going to have that. So maybe that's something they tweak at the end of the year. Now, what I was going to ask you before we wrap up is, have you filled out? Are people at work or the workplace doing brackets, filling them out and turning them in as part of a pool for this? I haven't done mine yet, but Andy and I are going to do ours. Is that a common thing? Filling out the brackets. Have you heard from other people?
No, I think it's too new.
Okay, I agree.
Not March Madness yet.
Yeah, it's not. March Madness is its own beast, its own animal with 64 teams. But now with 12 here, you might get something like that. But it'll be interesting. I think the fun thing is that after that first round in 2 weeks, teams will be out of it, sitting at home. The players sitting at home watching all these low-level bowl games going on, and they're already done. They'll already be done. And usually, a top team in the country, you're playing later on in the bowl season.
Well, who do you like winning the national championship?
I would say probably the Ducks. Yeah. I like you said, though, I do like the Arizona State. Arizona State, Penn State, things could get interesting with them. You could see Georgia. Georgia could win the whole thing.
Yeah, I think whoever wins the Georgia Notre Dame is going to be in the championship. I think Oregon's pretty much, to me, is a lock. I mean, Texas could step up, or Tennessee, but
it'll be interesting to see from a Vegas perspective how much money will be bet on this tournament going forward, and that's going to be huge, I think. And there's no clear-cut favorites. There could be upsets every weekend going on with this. Who knows what's going to happen? So it's going to bring in a lot of money, I think, to Vegas.
Wouldn't it be kind of cool to see Boise State and
SMU?
Yeah.
It will be interesting. The whole thing will be cool. I think it's interesting from a competition standpoint to watch these extra games just to see how it shakes out and to see what changes they make for next year. And it's the first year that this is all going on. So what's going to happen? What I don't want is that final championship game to be between two teams that have got their star running back out, their third string quarterback playing, and their star receiver, Gimpy, and it's not going to be much of a game at that point because they're playing 4 rounds of playoffs potentially. So that we'll see how it goes, but that'll be fun. Well, Craig from Philly, thanks for joining us on the show tonight. Any other comments on your side?
No, this not at all. I'm good.
All right. Look forward to talking with you January 21st. After that final game's done, I want to get on the phone with you and see how your picks all turned out, what you thought of the whole thing.
You got it.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good one.
See ya.
See ya.